Welcome back to the Afternoon Brew. Guys, I got a special guest here today, Jack Watson with the Generation Group with Coldwell Banker. Thanks for being here, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, very good to see you, V.
Likewise, brother. Let's tell me, I could list off you're a realtor, investor, flipper, all that fun stuff. Tell me what you do, man.
Yeah. So first things first, I'm a realtor.
Yep.
So I sell houses and help people, buy houses in Western Mass. I also help a fair amount of investors, find investment properties, find tenants for investors as well. And flip houses, and very recently gotten into flipping land, which is fantastic. And
Ooh, that's fun.
yeah, it is.
That'll be
honestly.
a good convo to talk about.
It definitely will be. Honestly, it's been amazing, and really, just been working here for about 4 years now, and also have the real estate team with my partners James Butterworth and Mike Parker.
A little plug.
And yeah, of course, gotta get a little plug. And those guys are fantastic. They are everything that I'm not. In a leader. They provide the support that they need to provide. I provide the support I need to provide. And I have learned so much just from working with them over the past, I think, year and a half now. Yeah.
Cool. Why do you say that they are good leaders? What makes a good leader?
Ooh, wow, we're getting in the deep cuts early.
I know. Listen, you just said it, and I'm like, I'm just going to go for it, man.
What makes a good leader?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And particularly, obviously, them. We're going to take them into account.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a lot of things that make a good leader. And of course, that's a very vague answer.
Yeah.
But really, I think it comes down to understanding that it can't just be yourself. I think, we talk about this like solopreneur, like solo entrepreneur sort of concept, like it's all on you. If you do that, you're going to burn out. You're really, really going to burn out. So you have to understand that it can't just be you. You have to collaborate. You have to partner. And really, you have to provide value to other people. If you're a leader and you're just looking to suck every last drop out of everybody that's working for you, then they're not going to be there for very long, and you're not going to have a good culture. So we try to really, and I do this with my other businesses as well, where we try to not just focus on the bottom line. Like, okay, how can we support you becoming the best agent possible? And if we can do that, then we benefit, you benefit. And the way I see it, if you decide that you want to leave in the future, where we've had agents leave our team, then that's the best thing for you, and that's okay. So admitting that you're wrong is another good thing for a leader.
There you go. That's a good little gem. All right, now we're going to backpedal and go to the beginning.
Fair enough.
What got you into real estate?
Ooh.
Why? Yeah. Why? Oh, how long have you been doing it for?
About 4 years now. I think I
Nice.
just had my 4-year anniversary.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what got you into it?
Yeah, desperation, honestly.
Ooh, okay.
I would say that would be really
Go
what
ahead.
it is. Was at UMass, was studying to be a psychologist, and then was studying to be a doctor. And I don't know if you know this, but med school is expensive.
yeah.
A
Little bit.
I was,
bit.
I was good at those, like, organic chemistry and biochem and all those classes. But it just didn't do it for me. So I had the origin story that I think a lot of people have, where I read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that,
classic.
Yeah,
Classic book,
sort of
man.
the first one. And I read it on a flight that I had that was cross country, and I read the whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I read that one, and then I read Think and Grow Rich, and then I read Richest Man in Babylon. And I had always loved, personal finance and investing in stocks and things like that. But I was like, oh, like real estate. 'Cause I had never had family in real estate. I didn't know any developers or anything. So really, just started learning more about it. Took a couple classes at UMass. Plug there as well. They have an amazing real estate program over there. They're fantastic. And really, then COVID happened, I'd say. And when COVID happened, I lost my internship, my job. Didn't go to school. And I was like, all right, let's just get my real estate license and see what happens. And it was fantastic. So did that. Bought a couple investment properties along the way, and still loving it. Yeah.
That's cool. What was your first deal like?
Oh, it was terrible, honestly. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But there's a great story there because I'm going through the deal, and my broker was terrible. I'm not going to give his name out, but he's not my broker now. No support, no nothing. If I asked a question, it was like, oh, here's a book. Why don't you read this? I'm like, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So basically, this deal, I had no idea what I was doing at all. It was I think somebody was buying a single family in West Springfield, newly updated. The buyer was cash. It was the cleanest deal that I could possibly have done, frankly. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to do an inspection request. I didn't know how to sign a purchase and sale. I didn't know that we had to submit a deposit. I had no knowledge whatsoever.
Sheesh.
So, yeah, I know. It was ridiculous. I still don't know how we got it closed.
Yeah.
But I reached out to the agent on the other side, an agent by the name of Claire Kenna, and she's at Coldwell Banker now, and she and I have been friends for years since this. And I just asked her, hey, like, my broker isn't really helping me too much. I know you're the listing agent and I'm the buyer agent, and we're like on opposite sides here, but what do I need to do to get this to close? And she said, wow, like, thank you so much for reaching out. Like, most new agents just fumble through it and like sort of screw it up for everybody. And she sat down with me, like, we had coffee, and she explained everything that I had to do to make sure that it closed. She even helped me write, like a repair request, that her clients would have to deal with, because she was like, yeah, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
So did that, deal closed, and she and I have been friends, and she actually brought me over to my new broker, and like, been happy ever since. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. She is an awesome person. So that was my first deal. There were some bumps.
Would that be the most memorable deal that you've had? Or
Most memorable deal.
Yeah.
Well, memorable, good or bad?
both. I mean, that's a great one. Any one, good or bad, you know?
Well, I would say the deal that I have going on right now will probably be my most memorable bad.
Boy.
Yeah, because I'm helping somebody sell their condo in Palmer and buying a house in Chicopee.
Okay.
And they have been, amazing. Like their process and their, financing is in perfect condition. The attorney's fine. The seller is, amazing. But the buyer that is buying our condo, we are right now in week 4 of extensions because they can't get their financing together. And I'm like, what is going on? And not getting straight answers from, lenders. Again, I'm not going to name any names, but it goes to show you that when I talk to my lenders about things, because it's all a team. Like, when I talk to my lenders and my attorneys and my inspectors, there's clear lines of communication. Like, we all know what's going on. And in this case, we don't, and not getting straight answers about, okay, what does the buyer still need? Like, what do we need from the condo association? Oh, we have everything. Oh, we don't. Oh, we have everything. Okay, we have to extend another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if there's not good communication there and people aren't being straightforward, it can be a nightmare. So, and that's annoying because, both parties, actually the people buying and the people selling, they're both pregnant and like 8.5 months pregnant. Oof. And like, it's like, it's getting stressful.
Dang.
But it'll close because and I took them from that lender, the buyer for our place, and brought them to the lender that I use, and now she's doing an amazing job. Yeah. So it's just a team effort.
Man. I mean, what are your thoughts on buying a multi, buying a duplex, buying a single family? Go.
Yeah. So I have the exact same thought. I've had this thought for years, and you and I talked about it, and it was a great conversation. I wholeheartedly, 100% believe, and I'll talk to anybody about this, that you should not buy a home in your 20s. You should buy a multifamily property, and you should live in one side and rent out the other. Or you should, buy a single family house and live in one room and rent out, like the other rooms to roommates or friends or family or whoever it is. Now is the time when you're in your 20s to take risks. Usually you're not taking care of, aging parents. You're not taking care of, kids. You're not, having to, you don't have a mortgage. You don't have things like this. I remember when I started in the industry, an agent I was training with, he was in his mid 30s and he had 5 kids and he had a mortgage, and I was 20, and he said to me, "Oh, I could have never done what you were doing. Like, I could have never done that, at your age." I was like, I have no risk. I don't have people relying on me. And sometimes you do in your 20s, but most of the time you don't. And even if you do, there's ways around it. But buying a multifamily, living in it for a year. If you live in it for a year, then you can buy another property, another multifamily, and then you can rent out the first one total, keep your interest rate, keep your insurance the same, keep everything the exact same. And then you live in that second one for a year, and then you buy the next one, after a year, and then you rent out the first 2. And that entire time, you're only having to put anywhere from 3.5% down to 5% down. So it's amazingly concise. You don't have to put down too much money. There's little risk. You're at the property, so you're learning how to landlord, without, with actually being there. My tenant that I live with is not a problem at all. The tenants that I have in other rental properties, we're not there.
Yeah.
So, there's more stuff you can get away with.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome, and I love that. Let's get into the numbers as well. So why does somebody buy a multi, live in one side, rent out the other? Like, what are the numbers behind there?
Yeah.
I'm kind of foreshadowing there. What are the numbers, right? What's the reason why somebody would do that?
Right.
Because I bought a house, I'm paying rent, I'm paying a mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point, honestly.
Yeah.
And the way I think about it is there's multiple ways where, it makes sense financially.
Okay.
So if you buy a house, you buy a home, your mortgage rate is, right now, say around like 6, 7, 8%, something like that. Your monthly payment on a $300,000 house right now, if you're buying with a 3.5% down FHA loan, is somewhere between $2,200 a month and $2,600 a month, depending where you live and the property taxes and what it is. And that's pretty expensive. But if you buy a multifamily, and you can buy a multifamily in certain towns and certain areas, for similar prices to what the single family is, you can have a very similar mortgage, and you can have the tenant on the other side pay your rent. So let's say your mortgage is $3,000 a month. You live in one unit. Let's just say it's a duplex. You live in one unit, and then the tenant lives in the next unit, identical units. Your tenant pays you, let's just say $1,500 a month. Now your monthly payment is $1,500.
Right.
3,000 minus 1,500. Another great way is, you really get to build equity. Build equity faster because your tenant is building your equity for you. Again, like I talked about, like who, not how. Your tenant is building your equity for you. You also get tax benefits. Any improvements that you make to, and of course, I'm not a tax expert here.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, right. But any improvements that you make to your tenant side of the property or the property as a whole, as long as it relates to functioning as a rental property, you can take deductions on. So the rental income, you're usually not having to pay too many taxes on it. So it's building equity, it's not paying rent, and we have 2 multifamilies right now, and we're planning on getting more. But right now, I live for free, and I have tenants paying additional money on top of the mortgage. So that way, if a roof goes, or a furnace goes, it's not me coming with money out of my own pocket. It's okay. The tenant's rent is put into a fund, and then we use that for improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many ways to do it.
No, and I love that. I love, I think they call it house hacking.
Yeah.
Something, along those lines, which phenomenal way to grow a portfolio as well, real estate.
Yeah. Everybody should do it. Nobody should buy a single family home in their 20s.
Well, that's where I was I guess similar but different. I was going to pivot. And I think one of my biggest questions, so obviously I deal with a lot of agents and we do the marketing for them and whatnot, but I always have a question. Why aren't more real estate agents investors?
It's a good question.
Because you're an agent, you've done it, you're doing it. And
honestly, I do see a pattern with that because I got into real estate, with the sole purpose of building generational wealth for myself and my family and also for my clients. So I talk to my clients about this all the time. And even if you're buying a single family, here's how you could make money off the side or an in-law suite or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I don't know why, agents don't buy more investment properties. There are agents that do and where they sort of are investors and agents sort of in one. But I don't know why. It's definitely not a knowledge issue, because we have the information and, we're the professionals. It's definitely not a finding property issue. I could, if I really sat down and looked at it, I could text like 10 agents right now, ask what they had for an off-market multifamily, and I could probably find one where the numbers worked.
Nice.
Just, having a network is really, really beneficial. So I don't know why it is. Sometimes it's just, like I find, especially there's a great book called The Psychology of Money, where they talk about, every single financial habit that you have is learned. And usually it's learned from your parents or from your school. And sometimes people just were never, taught or never learned, okay, I could invest. And this is what it means over the long term. Because in the short term, it's risky and you're not making a ton of money.
Right.
So my rentals don't make a ton of money, but I'm looking at it over, okay, what's it going to be in 30 years?
Of course, once they're paid off. And I mean, that's your retirement fund initiative.
Yeah, you got to have a long-term view.
I wonder if there's, only because you brought it up, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I wonder if the types of books that you're consuming, that a person consumes, has a correlation with it. Obviously, I'm sure there's an answer, yes.
Well, you're a yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're a media guy.
Yeah,
Right.
That's you know what I mean. Whatever you consume is kind of what you put out. You know,
Yeah.
input directly correlates with output.
Oh yeah. It's got to be.
I like asking that question just because I feel like there's a lot of potential that's just or opportunity that's just missed. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's good research off that. You know, you prime yourself. So if you're constantly around, people that invest, and you're constantly reading investment books,
Right.
chances are you're probably going to find investment opportunities better than somebody who doesn't.
No,
So,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Or see the value. Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast similar to what you just said. He's like, if you hang around with 10 people that own ice cream shops, in time you're going to be an ice cream expert. If you hanging out around 10 doctors, in time you're not necessarily going to be a doctor, but you're going to have a very good understanding on what it takes to do an open heart surgery.
Yeah.
So similar concept here. You hang around enough investors, you hang around enough people that are like-minded. I don't want to say like-minded because you're kind of coming in with a different perspective, but you want to learn from them. So
Yeah, it is. And it's also providing value. Like I'm big on like friendships and like genuine connections.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to provide value. Like we talked about this beforehand.
Yeah.
Like I already have a list of people that I would recommend come on this podcast.
I can't
Because
wait.
that is part of this. It can't
Yeah.
just be, oh, let's go down and, drink at, the bar, which is great.
Right.
No problems with that. But
course.
it's got to be, okay, what can we do together that enhance both of our business and our lives and our perspectives and what it is.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where, just to kind of that's why I wanted to create something like this, not to be the cliche podcaster, start a podcast. Is I hang around a bunch of, realtors and business owners and solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and everybody has so much amazing knowledge and just stories that I'm like, this is incredible. Yeah. But exactly what you said, how can we, instead of me just reaching out, hey, let's have coffee and let's drink, why don't we provide value for both sides? I would love to listen
I
to
love some coffee too, but yes.
Oh, dude, coffee all day, man. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the whole, here's the plug for this thing, for the afternoon brew. But that's the whole reason as why I wanted to create this. It's just a value.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's all I want to bring. That's been the topic of my since January for this year. It's just value. How can we provide more value to our current clients, friends and anybody in our network,
Oh yeah. Hey, so if you have something to say,
Listen to Jack.
if you have something to say and you feel you could provide value to yourself and your clients and your community, come on this podcast.
Listen, you
okay?
get a little free and you get some free content. Man,
why
it's
not?
a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah.
When you see a name, I'm going to say this politely. What makes an agent a good agent?
Well, actually, what do you think makes a good agent? If you had to say.
Oh,
yeah.
little flippy,
Well,
little reverse card on
I'm
me.
kind of curious here, right? I'm very
Now,
curious here.
disclaimer, I just see the back end of the marketing.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm taking it from.
No, right, but I would love to hear your perspective.
I have dealt with a few, I've done a few flips as well. So I've done a little bit with them. Going on the marketing, I think having a team is what's going to definitely make an agent stand out. Having a team, and what I mean is having somebody that one agent can do everything. If you're selling a house and you hire an agent and the agent says, okay, I'm going to come in and clean, I'm going to come in and paint, I'm going to come in and do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do. In the beginning, that's fine because you don't have the resources yet to push that out.
Right.
Those are my thoughts. As you grow, even with our agency, as you grow, you inevitably have to start delegating the low producing tasks to the high producing tasks. It doesn't matter. So that's my first thing. My first thought on what is going to make a good agent. Now, disclaimer, again, depending on the volume, depending on your goals, depending on the growth, whatever it is, there's a lot of agents that are solo agents that do it amazingly. I'm taking it from a volume perspective, and I'm taking it from, again, growth. Your social media content, I have to say it. When I see agents, first the question is, I don't know what to post. I don't know. I need a post. I know I need a post, but you have no online presence. Guys, we're in houses all the time. You do an amazing job. I've been following your 3-month journey. You turn the camera on and you record. Just tips and tricks. That's mine. this is another thing. Obviously, it's going to be more of a plug for me, for us, but you don't have to use us. This is not necessarily, there's so many other agencies that do this. There are people that will provide high quality, consistent content for you. It takes a little bit of investment as you grow. I feel like that is going to directly correlate with kind of the question that I asked you, what makes you want to work with an agent? Well, what's going to want me, somebody that's not in the real estate field, want to work with an agent? And it's not all social media presence, you know, but if I can feel like I know them before I even meet them, I mean, you're sold.
Right.
You know? So
exactly. Take out the legwork. Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to introduce yourself. People just know who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And the thing is, social media it's become the new resume. It's, you know, you look on, you know, anytime I'm doing my interviews or whatnot, the first thing I do when I see a name pop up, I go to social media. What are you posting? You know, what do you look like? How do you talk? How do you act? You know, just all that stuff, just to get an idea. Like,
what kind of person are you?
Exactly. What, you know, what's your field? If somebody goes onto my page and they, within 5 seconds, they don't understand that I'm doing something with real estate, I failed. And then on top of that, if they don't know that we provide the media content, I failed even more. That's my thoughts. If somebody goes onto your page and says, "Oh, what does Jack do?" Okay, I mean, there's a picture of his dog. He's on vacation. You lost me. You know, like, you're not going to get the deal. There's a high chance, unless you have a referral through a friend, whatever the case is. So those are mine. I mean, there's communication. There's a bunch of like small things that kind of fall down the thing. If you need something and you're harassing me for something, for our service, but then when the roles are flipped and if the homeowner can't get a hold of you because whatever the case, the painter isn't there or the photographer isn't there, whatever the case is, if they can't get a hold of you, I think that's another red flag.
Big time.
Yeah, those are my few, I guess. A little bit of a social plug there.
That was a great plug.
Yeah,
Honestly.
thank you.
Yeah.
But again, I think it brings so much value to people, especially if you're a business owner. Do not complain that you're not getting leads if you're not investing in social media, which is free. Free 99.
Free 90?
It's free. You turn your camera on and you just talk stories. People love that. So that's from marketing. You know, again, there's a lot of like, when I've dealt with, I've had a couple of flips that I've done. It's just speed. It's, if I call you, please just pick up, especially knowing that there's a deal on the line.
Right.
That's kind of my thing. Obviously, if it's Saturday, 9 o'clock at night, I'm not picking up. Like, I'm not going to bother you. I have the decency not to call you. But if you're in the middle of a deal, you almost have to be on call.
Yeah.
For the most part. Now, 9 to 5, you know, I'm going to give you my you know, you have to set a life balance.
Yes.
But if I'm calling you between 9 to 5, you know.
Call me right back.
Exactly. At least call me back.
Right. No, and I would agree with that. And I would have to say when I see an agent's name, you know, I'm like, oh, like I get to work with them. I just had this with Heidi Pafumi, which honestly, I think she would love to be on here. Yeah. I had this with her where I know that the deal is going to get done. And I think that's the first thing is that, you know, an agent has to be a problem solver. You know, and so many agents are great at describing problems, I would say. But, you know, when problems come up you've never dealt with before, if you know, have, you know, like a pipe bursts in the basement the day before closing, you know, are you going to be a problem solver?
Yes.
Or are you just going to sort of say, oh, well, I can't deal with that. You know, here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, like, figure it out.
Yeah.
Or are you going to reach out to a handyman you know or a handywoman you know and, you know, have them come by? And if you don't have that person, then, okay, find someone else who can solve your problem. Reach out to your company. Reach out to, you know, there's so many Facebook groups online where you can find people to help you do things. So
being proactive.
Yeah, being proactive. Yeah. Another thing is setting expectations. So, you know, communicating very clearly what the expectations are. You just brought up that, like you are like agents are available 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Right.
That's something I take great pride in, which is I would have to say 95% of the time, do not answer my phone if someone calls me. And it's just because I get maybe about 20 to 25 spam calls a day if I really had to set it. But I say in my voicemail, look, you know, if you do not leave a voicemail, if you do not send me a text, I am not able to respond to you, you know, and so I'm very clear about that. With all of my clients, I tell them, hey, I work from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. If you call me, I probably won't answer, but I will call right back or send me a time that makes sense for you. You know, on Saturdays, I work from 9 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm off the rest of the day, and then I'm off Sunday as well. And that is something where I had to, talk to my girlfriend, now fiance. Very happy about that.
Nice. Congrats, man.
Yeah, no, very happy about that. And we had a very, very long talk about it. It's not just building a business that makes money, which turns into a job. It's building a business that makes money that supports your lifestyle. And that has been very, very important to me for the past, I'd say like 4 or 5 months now. So very happy about that. So communicating well. When I talk to a client about, hey, the buyer's going to do a home inspection, I prep the seller by saying, look, your house might be perfect, but the buyer is going to ask for something. And then we just have to decide, okay, are we going to say yes? Are we going to say no? Or are we going to counter? Is their request legitimate? If it's not legitimate, okay, why is it not legitimate? And we go back and forth. And that way I haven't had a seller in quite some time, come to me and say, well, no, we're going to let this deal fall apart for $1,000, or we're going to do this. No, we can't do it, because I prep them and I say, look, when it comes down to it, if neither side is able to get something together and it's like $1,000 is, keeping us apart from getting the deal done, we're going to do that. Or we're going to find a way where I can give some of my commission and the other agent can give their commission. We're going to figure out how to problem solve this. So just setting expectations, timelines as well with clients. So many clients don't, get good timelines from their agents, saying, okay, this is when we need a smoke detector inspection. This is when the appraisal comes out. Okay, this is what an appraisal is. Okay, we need to be, in broom swept condition the day before closing. That's something I deal with all the time, where now I have a junk removal company on call pretty much same day. So that way, when we go into a final walkthrough with a buyer and the seller has inevitably left some sort of stuff there, then we call the company and they come out right away. And I tell the seller, if I'm working with the seller, I tell the seller, look, I've explained this to you multiple times. I know that you left these things that you thought the buyer would want. I told you the buyer didn't want them. Per our agreement that we have, I'm hiring a junk removal company to make sure it closes, and you're going to pay them out of the proceeds of closing. And I've never gotten any pushback on that, because I set that expectation up front. So it just makes it easy, eliminating stress.
No, and I feel like from what you just said, I feel like your approach to it as well, instead of losing your temper, getting mad, it's just like, hey, look, no problem, but this was the agreement. This is what we're gonna do.
Oh yeah, I've had clients yell at me on the phone. Oh my god!
Dude, I believe it.
Yell! I just had one guy, because he probably yelled at me on the phone for half an hour, and I just was sort of like,
what happened?
It was the same deal with the Palmer house where they're buying or the Palmer condo, and they're buying in Chicopee. Where he basically was super, super pissed at the buyer's lender, because the buyer's lender was just taking forever, and it wasn't going to work with them. And he yelled at me for half an hour, and the whole time I was like, look, Wayne, we're on the same side here, but if you want to yell at me, if that makes you, happy, or that makes you feel good or whatever, just to get out some anger, you have here, go for it. And I just, I was answering emails while he was yelling at me. I was like, if you really want to, it's good. And he called me the next day, and he apologized, and he said, I know you're doing the best job you can. I was just really pissed. It's like, I would be pissed if I were you too. And I can't give too many details, but it's like multiple extensions week after week after week of, we need this. Okay, we get them this. Okay, now we need something else. Okay, we need something else. And it's just like, usually things close on time. If it's with two good agents.
Super random. It was our Eversource bills a couple months ago, skyrocketed, whatever they're doing there. And I called I don't get pissed off, but I was like, pretty stern. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's up, almost double from last month. And it's so funny how your approach and how your reaction can dictate the way the conversation is going to go. The lady on the phone, she goes, I know, right? I can't believe it's that high. And I'm like, wait. No. I'm supposed to be mad at you. You're not supposed to be siding with me. And it caught me so off guard that she was just like, I know, I can't believe they're doing that. Ours just went up. We live in a condo. And then she just started complaining to me. I was like, that's a great tactic that I'm going to start using in business, which it's phenomenal. Your reaction, say, a client calls me for some reason. You're absolutely right. How could we have done that? I can't believe this is this bad. And, usually everything works out.
Yeah.
People aren't usually mad for that specific reason. There's usually a lot of underlining things there. You
Oh
know?
yeah, it
So,
really is. Honestly, and to go off of that point, I think I
Yeah.
told you I've been buying and selling land and
Yep,
flipping and subdividing in multiple markets,
Yeah.
and it's been fantastic. And a strategy that I use to talk to sellers, because the landowners I talk with, they get calls from like 20 people a week.
Sure.
Like it's, and it's my job to differentiate myself from those other 20 people.
Of course.
And one of the first things I say is, well, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why would you even want to sell this land? Why would you want to do a deal right now? If you don't, that's okay. And it just sort of comes over them like, okay, Jack's giving me a choice here, where everybody else calling is like, hey, I want to buy your land. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
you didn't take the time to figure out, why I would even want to do that.
Right.
So I think just asking good questions, especially sales, like we talked about this, I've trained like dozens of salespeople at this point, and like it's
Yeah.
just asking good questions. Yeah. And just being a friend. Yeah.
Yeah. It's being a listening ear, and I like to call them just discovery questions or discovery calls rather than like cold calls, or
Yeah.
because it's calling and asking.
Yeah.
Hey, why do you want to sell?
Yeah.
Really? What's whatever, right? In that case scenario, yeah, that's good. Speaking of land, how'd you get into that?
Honestly, that is weird. I
Yeah.
saw like a TikTok ad for it. This was like a year ago, frankly. Yeah. And I was like, because I flipped a couple houses, and
Yeah.
I was like, flipping houses it just takes a lot. You're dealing
Yeah.
with tenants and contractors and things like that. And, it's inevitably something goes wrong, where I started just learning about land flipping. And it's just buying land, for super cheap, and then selling it for, a little bit below market value, so it sells quickly. And that's it. So really, I just started finding landowners. There's ways you can find, like data online.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have my social security number online at this point. Like,
Probably.
Yeah. And just started reaching out to landowners and saying, hey, would you consider selling your land? And sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. But if they say yes, then it's okay. We buy it. We put them in touch with our title company, depending on what state it is, maybe an attorney. And purchase it, and then maybe do some improvements, put in a driveway, put in a septic system, clear it, subdivide it if it's like a super big parcel. I'm actually working on like 500 acres in North Carolina right now.
Wow.
We might be able to do. So that'll be fun.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for some lenders on that one. So.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it's just so, I would say, lucrative, but also I'm just passionate about it. Like, people need land. Like,
Right.
land is super, super high in demand right now, because part of the reason we have a housing crisis is because there's not as many houses being built. So if we can, find buildable land and do something with it, instead of it just staying in somebody's pocket for, 20, 25, 30 years,
Right.
it helps everybody.
Right.
So yeah, it's really a good service. There's a need for it right now.
And you can't make land. I think that's like the cliche saying. It's
Oh,
like
I
you can't make more land. It's just
I say
whatever's
that.
there.
I say that to people all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not making any more. Like, oh, I'll take it off your hands. Yeah,
Right.
right.
No, that's you said about a year you've been doing that.
About a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say we're doing right now. We're in Tennessee, North Carolina, Arkansas. So all virtual, but having boots on the ground in every state, title companies in every state. And it's getting to the point where I just hired a lead manager, like you and I talk about this, where it's like, delegating some of the other tasks, so the lead manager's job is to, bring in, intake the leads when they come in. If we, call them, or, they find our website or whatever it is, she calls them and basically asks them, hey, what's the reason would you want to sell the land? What are the utility situation? Is it cleared? Is it wooded? Is there, water access, frontage, whatever it is. And then tease it up for me to do my job, where my job is to provide creative solutions to people. So maybe it's a cash offer, maybe it's seller financing, maybe it's a novation, maybe it's a partnership. There's so many different ways you could do it. So we talk about that. I could do her job as well, but even if she does 95% of the way I could do it, she is taking so much time out of my day that I no longer have to do those. I can just talk to people who are committed, serious, and reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One piece just kind of because I'm quite fascinated about this. Can you explain seller financing?
Ooh, very, very good question. Yeah.
Thanks.
How much time do you have? Have you ever had somebody talk about seller financing on this before?
No.
Okay.
Well, you're the second guest, so
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go then. Fair
congratulations.
enough. No, really sick. I wasn't the first.
I feel
Come on,
like
man.
I
What do you
know. Oh, you're the first.
That's what you tell everybody who comes
Yeah.
in here. Right?
Congratulations. Just don't look at the YouTube page.
Well, do you have experience
Yeah.
with seller financing, or do you
No,
know anything about
so
it?
I do. I have like a concept understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to hear from somebody. I don't know if you've done it. So in my understanding, seller financing, the seller acts like the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Say you own a property.
Yep.
You get in touch with the seller. They essentially act like the bank, and you agree on terms. You usually what's like 10% down or something. I give you 10% down, and then you negotiate a interest rate, 4 or 5%, whatever it is, and then you just pay them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the question I have though is, where do you get the numbers and what's the length of this? Because I feel like I've watched so many videos online and I'm understanding it, and I feel like there's a lot of people like I think if I'm the dumb one, I'd rather be the dumbest one in the room.
No,
I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of understand the concept, but then it's like, how do you pitch it? And that could be the next segment, is to how do you pitch it to sellers,
So
right?
there's two good questions there.
Yeah.
And I am by no means an expert in seller finance.
Yeah.
I'm really just getting into it now and doing it on land, where, land is less risky than houses. Yeah. But you're exactly right. So, but it's two questions. It's how do you explain it to yourself? And then how do you explain it to somebody who has never heard of seller financing before?
Right.
So how we usually do it is I would make a cash offer on a piece of land. And I would say, hey, this is my price. I'll close in, 14 days. I'll pay your closing costs. Our title company will handle everything. Take it as is. Does this work for you? And if they say no, then I usually say, okay, well, is that, because you're not really looking to sell, or is it just because my number isn't high enough? And if they say, well, it's because your number isn't high enough, I'll say, well, have you ever heard of, something called seller financing? I don't even think I say it that way. I think I say, well, I could probably pay you more if I could give you a down payment and then make monthly payments for a certain amount of time. Would you be open to that? And there's a ton of benefits to it, but how I explain it to people is we can be extremely, extremely creative here.
Yeah.
If you're telling me, that, you need a certain amount in your pocket, I can get that for you, and we can work the other terms. And there's terms that you have to worry about. It's price. So what's the price in the contract? What's the term of the loan? Is it 5 years? Is it 20 years? Is it 30 years? And we typically talk about like a 30-year mortgage.
Sure.
So that's sort of the standard.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that. We talk about interest rate. So I have paid 12% interest on land before to a seller. I've paid 0% interest on land to a seller before. Then it comes down to when the balloon payment is due. So let's say, your loan is amortized, so, over 30 years. So it's as if, you're paying off this land over 30 years. But the seller wants a balloon payment. They want, okay, I want to be done with this, year 10. So you pay those monthly payments as if you're paying, on a 30-year mortgage or a 30-year, note. And then when you, purchase that, or when you reach the 10-year mark, then you pay whatever's remaining on the loan balance. That's pretty much it. So when I talk with a seller, I say, okay, well, we can be extremely, extremely creative here. Now, what makes the most sense to you? And I go through each of those. I say, okay, what is the price that you have to have? And they will say, well, I need, $100,000. And I'll say, great. Is that the lowest you could take? Just kind of asking that question. Yeah. And they might say, well, no, I could do 90.
Sure.
I'll say, okay, well, then we talk about a monthly payment. How much do you need to get monthly for this property? And they'll say, okay, well, I would need to get like $400 a month. I say, okay, great. And then for a down payment, how much do you need for a down payment? A lot of people just assume that you need 20% down. But I ask them, how much do you need for a down payment? And if they say, 20% down, I'll say, great. Where's that number coming from?
Yeah.
Like, what is the reason beyond this? And I just paid somebody a down payment of $32,000 on a piece of land worth $350,000 because he needed $31,500 to pay off a mortgage on a house that he had.
Gotcha.
And that was super important to him.
Oh, that's good.
So I said, okay.
Those discovery questions.
Exactly. And he was not interested in, he needed to get, I think it was $180,000 for the land, and he wanted $32,000 for a down payment. And I said, okay, well, because of that, we can stretch out the term as long as possible. So we're doing a 20-year term. So our monthly payment's super low because it's over a longer period of time. And we're also getting it at, I think, 1.5% interest. which is amazing. You don't see that. You didn't even see that during COVID.
Yeah.
But again, he didn't care about that.
Right.
He needed his $180,000 at the end, and then he also needed his $32,000 up front. And as a cash offer, I was only able to offer him I think 120.
Yeah.
But I could offer him 180 because we worked this creative solution.
Right.
So when somebody says, "Oh, I need this," my instinct is to say, "Okay, why? What is the reason?" Let's dig into that.
See, that's really cool because you mentioned it too. The whole creative financing. There's Pace Morby. You ever seen? Yeah, he kind of got big with this creative finance. Yeah. But that's really cool. I haven't consumed enough of his content, but I think what you said is really, really cool, even for myself. I'm just talking out loud because you have so much control over this. There's no set rules, in essence, for that. Yeah. That's really cool.
Be extremely, extremely creative.
Yeah.
And that's
whatever the seller would essentially take, whatever agreement you come on. That's cool.
Exactly. And that's why I asked the question, if I could pay you more, would you be open to taking a down payment and getting the rest monthly?
Yeah.
And I don't usually mention the term seller financing because the seller financing is kind of, whatever. But how I explain it is, okay, you're going to be the bank.
Yep.
I'm going to give you a down payment. I'm going to pay you monthly. Just like with a bank, if I stop paying you, you take the property back. So there's no risk for you.
Awesome.
Because if there was, then we wouldn't do this.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how it works.
Here's a curveball I'm going to throw at you. Can you refi a seller finance deal? So you're not going through a bank. You're they're the bank. In a year, and 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Now you want to own it. Not that you don't own it, but say you want to own it and you want to push them out. They don't want to be the bank anymore. Yep. Can you then go in and refi, not land? It's probably a little difficult with land, but more
you can do it with land.
We'll say or whatever. Can you refi a seller finance deal?
Yeah, 100%. It's the same concept because you said you flipped a couple houses, right? Did you use your own money or hard money?
Friends' money.
Friends' money. Gotcha. All right.
So we did what is it called when you I haven't polished up my terms when you can collect money. Fundraiser, not a fundraiser,
syndication
but
whatever it is.
I just called around, said, "Hey man, I need X amount of money. This guy gave me some. This buddy gave me some, and I had the remainder, and we just bought it in."
We might have to talk. Honestly, I've been doing that myself for the land deals. I think over the past 3 months, I've gotten $500,000, to fund some deals,
man.
which is fantastic. Yeah.
What's that term called? Grant Cardone does it.
Private lending
private
is what I call it.
Private lending. Yes,
I think Grant calls it I think he calls it a syndication.
Yeah,
you take a bunch of people's money.
Yeah, private money. Yep.
Yeah. But yes, you can refinance. And that's why I asked the hard money question because it's, when you take your friend's money, let's say you're going to keep that property, and not flip it, at the end, not sell it. You're just going to keep it. You would not want to keep your friend's money in the deal.
Right.
You would want to go to a bank and say, hey, property is worth about $300. I have a mortgage, a note, whatever you're paying your friend, on it of $50,000. I need to, take money out of it and pay off this and pay off that. And essentially you would pay off, your friend's money with the mortgage that you would get from the bank.
Correct.
Same thing with land. But in all of the clauses, the seller financing clauses that we have, there's an option for me to extend the term if it makes sense. And I think it's we extend the term and we'll either pay the seller an additional, 0.5%, or we'll pay them $1,000 just to extend the term.
Right.
Because in my experience, seller financing notes, the date at which it's due is always bad timing. It's always at the wrong time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So you want an option there, to extend, or you can just go to a bank and find something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, phenomenal info, man. I feel like I just learned a lot too, which is good. I think that's the whole point of
That's the point of this.
the
Right.
whole value stuff.
Big time.
Into that, say somebody doesn't have the money, or that's the excuse that they're using. Hey, I don't have the money to do this right now. What are you doing? You mentioned you're doing you got almost $500,000 in private equity.
Yep.
What's that look like?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But when somebody says that they don't have any money, it's okay. Well, do you not have the money, or do you not have a good enough deal? That's what I tell people, because I say, look, if you have a good enough deal, then you can find somebody who has the money that would want to lend on it and also make a return. If you don't have a good deal and it's kind of it's an okay deal, it's going to be hard, because you're not going to find the money. So what I do is now for my land deals, I do them with zero of my own money. I don't do them with any of my money. what I do is I put together a prospectus, basically.
Okay.
And I say, hey, I'm buying this piece of land. Like there's one we're doing in Tennessee right now. We're buying it for 180. And we've talked to realtors and we've talked to a surveyor and we've done all the work. We've done the title work and it's worth about $400,000. And I'll say, and I'll put that out to a lender and I'll say, hey, I'm looking for $180,000, for the purchase of this property, and you'll be paid. There's many ways, people can get paid for this, but I offer out a 6 to 12 month time frame, and I offer them out 12% interest annualized. So that means that on a $100,000, investment, at the end of the year, they would make 12 grand.
Right.
And I do simple interest and just keep it easy. And the way I tell people is, hey, if for any, because people always say, well, okay, what's the risk here? And I'll say, well, the risk is if I don't pay you your money on time, And essentially I say, okay, well, the risk here and how that's mitigated is that if I don't pay you for even 1 month, and I write this in the contract, then you get to take the property. And they will say, okay, well, I don't really want $180,000 piece of land in Tennessee. Yeah. And I'll say, well, that's perfectly fine. But what we care about is the loan to value ratio. So in this case, $180,000, it's worth 400. The loan to value ratio is like 47%, of the actual value of the property. That's fantastic. That's very, very low risk because if, it's not selling at 400, okay, drop it to 300. Right. You still make a handsome profit. Absolutely. And you get your money back. So I take people's money and I invest it for them in my deals. And then at the end of that time frame, whatever it is, 6 months, 12 months, then I give it right back to them with the interest. But the interest I'm paying monthly, so it's not like a lump sum at the end. I want them to see your money is working for you. Right. That's about it.
Nice, man. Yeah. You said you reach out to lenders. Do you just have a lender that you put it out to?
Of friends and family.
Gotcha. And then they essentially throw it out into the network?
Yep. Pretty much. So I have friends and family. I have a mortgage lender that I love, Drew Snook. He actually put me in touch with a couple people. Nice. He would be a great guy to have on here. Nice, and just put it out to people and just ask, look, do you have any money that's in a retirement account or a bank account or, just you'd want to get a higher return on it? Because a 12% return is great. On some deals, I even offer out 15% return. Wow. So it really is a good system. Yeah, of just generating capital. And if I make money, you make money, the seller makes money, the buyer gets a nice piece of land or a house when it's done or whatever it is, then everybody wins.
That's a handsome profit, 15%.
It's not bad.
A little interest rate. That's good, man.
And I'm happy to pay it, honestly. Yeah, some people do it differently. They do like an equity partnership. So like you purchase the property and you might get a little cash flow as an investor, but mostly you get equity in the property when it's done. So like when it's finished completion. In case of land, I'm not doing that. But yeah. Sorry. No, don't worry about
it. Good. I feel like one of the biggest things too is that once you have successfully shown somebody that, hey, this is real, right? Everybody's a skeptic. Everything's a scam because internet money doesn't exist. And it does in a way.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Kinda, yeah.
But I feel like too, one of the bigger, why you're willing to, pay out happily, the 12 to 15, or we'll say 10 to 12, which is very generous regardless, is to grow a relationship with them to show them, hey, we've done this once. Say the deal sells, you pay them fully back, and they're like, why don't we go a little more? You want to show them trust.
And that's the thing.
Gain trust with them.
And I tell everybody who lends on the deals that we do, I say, look, here's my realtor's number. You can give them a call. Here's my title company's number. You can give them a call. Of course, I'm not being the realtor down in Tennessee selling this stuff. But, I have a team in place that knows what they're doing. I get every lender a lender's title insurance policy. We have a promissory note the same way a bank does, which is basically a mortgage. So it's just making sure that, we have a good system in place. Because getting money from friends, like I think you said you did for your flips, is fantastic. I just like having it structured. Okay, here is exactly what's going to happen. If, God forbid, something happens, here is what happens as well. Right. Just laying out, okay, this is the, thing. And the way I say it is, I don't ask for money. I provide investment opportunities. If you're interested, great. If you're not, that's okay. You can probably tell that's kind of how I do it. It's like, look, if you don't want to sell or you don't want to do this, perfectly fine. Right. Yeah, no problems with that.
A lot of opportunity in that.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. All over the U.S., huh?
All over the U.S. Yeah. I just had a guy, he wants to sell me his land in Montana, like Yellowstone.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. I'm sure that price tag is high.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Missoula, which is
Yeah.
like where they shot. You ever watch Yellowstone?
Yellowstone, yeah.
It's a great show.
Oh,
Yeah.
phenomenal show.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but it's like right in there. I'm like, would you look at that? Yeah. And he's like, we could go in on it together. And I'm like, all right, I'll take a look.
Oh, that's cool, man.
But yeah, that's just providing opportunities. You know,
Yeah.
just like you do. Like this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, right here. So
No, thank you, man. That's
yeah,
just all about value, man. All about value.
big time.
Whether it's real estate, that's just our network. It's just the realtors and just real estate. But yeah, it goes deep, man. It goes really, really deep. With everybody has. It's kind of exactly what I just said. Everybody has so much value. Each person has their own type of value that they're going to bring. I have value that I hope that can be brought to a lot of people. But the only way you're going to know is if you're going to talk to them, if you're going to network with them, if you get a chance to, not just on a job site. It's, hey, let's sit down, Man, now we're just such a video world that it's like, why not help each other, grow
Big time.
on both sides.
And if you I'm a big believer. Like, have you ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People?
No.
Dale Carnegie.
I've seen it. I haven't read it yet. I have a huge list of books that I need to read still.
Dude, me
huge
too.
list. Please share.
How many
share.
books? How many books are on your list?
Oh man, it's. I mean, yeah, not triple digits, but I don't know, 30, 32 books maybe. I have a lot of books that I need to read, man. My wife's a reader, but she can put down a book in like a weekend. Yeah. Like I'm not that skilled.
Honestly, my fiance is the same thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like hilarious.
Dude, it's crazy. She's like, yeah, I'm done with this book. She'll get a book that's this thick, and she's like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, babe, it's Sunday. You got it on Friday. What do you mean you're done?
Right. Have you done anything else? Right.
Yeah. Like I have my 60-page book over there. It's been here for months. I'm still trying to finish it.
Exactly. No. But yes, my list is probably like 75 books at this point.
Holy crap.
Well, I just keep asking for recommendations,
Yeah.
and when you ask enough people, you get a lot of recommendations.
Oh yeah.
But one of the big things about How to Win Friends and Influence People is just ask people about themselves. Like, focus on them. If you can bring them value, don't focus on yourself. Like, when you look inward and you focus on yourself too much, it kind of gets a little. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, and
you start getting uncomfortable.
Oh no, believe me, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too. And I'm sure there are some agents, that would say, oh, I'm like that. But when I really go down into it, it's hey, provide value for as many people as possible. And it's gonna be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Gary Vee is good with this. I like the jab hook.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, it's essentially you keep jabbing, and then you hit him with a hook.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy says it with, Alex Hormozy, sales guy, business dude, phenomenal guy. He's like, just keep giving people things away for free until they can't take it anymore. They're like, dude, I need to pay you. Similar concept, right? Whether it's value, whether it's knowledge, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whatever it is.
Yeah, I heard something recently. I just hired a sales trainer, actually, which I haven't done ever, really.
Oh, that'll be fun. We'll talk about the next pod.
She's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's just been...
What are some tips that you have?
For her or for you? Or like for...
Yeah, what have you learned? I mean, how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for about 3 months now. Yeah.
Dude,
but
share some... What are some takeaways?
Yeah.
Without... spilling the beans too much.
No. So her name is Jen Wei. She's fantastic. And one of her big things is she does not use a script. So she doesn't use a script at all. She has bullet points, okay, I need to ask these questions, but she is just genuine. And it's refreshing because there's so many sales trainers out there where, you're trying to trick people. You're trying to use tactics. And, I use tactics too, but they are to figure out what the problem is. That is her thing. Like, her thing is, okay, we need to figure out the why. If somebody, says, oh, well, I just want to sell this property for the most amount of money, she doesn't stop there. She's genuine and she's caring, but she's not afraid to say, hey, well, you said you need that amount of money. Okay, why do you need that amount of money?
Yeah.
Like what is going on here? And she'll just keep digging and digging and digging until she finds the problem, and then she can provide a solution to that problem. I think too many salespeople try to sell the same thing to everyone. And you can't do that. You got to really figure out who is your avatar? You know, who are you selling to? Same way you don't sell your, services to, I don't know, like a stockbroker. It just wouldn't make sense. Or maybe it would in the future.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. So you got to figure out what people are about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the best thing I could say.
It's so funny, man. There's two thoughts that I had with that. So I've worked sales for like 3 years. Learned a lot. It was phenomenal.
I didn't know that. Where'd you work?
Verizon Wireless, sold cell phones.
Really?
The best. Yeah. It was one of the funnest gigs for the first 2 years, and then on the third year, I just saw my life going nowhere. And I say it from my personal experience. There's a lot of guys that make careers out of it, and it's guys, girls. It's a phenomenal job.
Was it something that like happened with like corporate or like there were
No,
issues,
nothing
or?
happened. No,
Yeah.
it was no, man. I was always, for the most part, for if my knowledge is correct, I was always top 5, top sales, top 7 reps. We had probably 30 reps in there or something. So
Fantastic.
like I wasn't bad. It was a good gig, but it's just you think of the future, and you, not to get too deep into this, but you're thinking of future, and obviously I'm like, I want a family, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and it's not necessarily that I didn't want to work. It's that it was a good enough job that it kept you there, but it prevented a lot of things to happen. Anyways, point being is that they taught us a lot of tips and tricks, and it was phenomenal. It's even from when you're doing a deal in person, it's just mimicking their body language, right? Somebody's crossing their arms, you cross your arms.
Mirroring and matching.
Exactly. If they come in all loud and out of a cannon, you match it.
Big time.
If they're quiet, more timid, you match it. Anyways, voice, actions, all that fun stuff. So all that fun, they trained us a lot into that, and it was phenomenal. But where I'm trying to go with this is that once we started, I think I overdid sales, and then towards the last year, I started having such a negative connotation to sales that when we started this business, which is real estate photography, real estate media, I was in such a shell, and I didn't ever want to sell anything again. But it just so happened that our service, for the most part, doesn't really need to be sold. All we need to be is just be known. So it's just, hey, this is what we do. It's kind of inevitable. Like if you're a painter, people need stuff painted. If you're a roofer, people need stuff roofed, Not that you need photography, but real estate, to me, I think you absolutely need your marketing to be good.
Every time I see a thumb in a photo from like
Oh
an
my
agent
God,
who
yeah.
takes their own photo.
Don't even get me started with that. I just seen a listing that was like $800,000, and the agent's in a reflection.
Yeah.
I want to call all of them out, and I'm going to do it right now publicly. This is going to be a clip.
Please do. I would have
Stop
done it for
being
you.
cheap. Stop. The amount of times I see now, look, I'm all for agents creating content, and not even agents. Well, yeah, we'll talk agents right now. But like, there is a time and place where if you're marketing a very expensive house, that's probably the time where you should invest a couple $100 into getting some photos and video, whatever the case is.
It is actually funny you say that. I know we're coming up on like the end here, but
No, go ahead.
I had a listing one time that didn't get syndicated over to Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin or whatever, for like a day, I'd say.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it was just like a software issue. And I think agents definitely have this feeling that like we're better, like, okay, we know exactly what we're talking about. We do.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
No way.
I know, right?
I don't believe you. Go ahead. I shouldn't even be talking like that. But anyways,
honestly, yeah.
They know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And what I noticed, it was a great experiment because while it was on the MLS and on no other websites, there were no people reached out to me about the property. As soon as it got on those websites, I started getting calls that exact same day. And for me, it's okay. Us as realtors, in the past, it was like we were like the gatekeepers of information. We had a book apparently, and like you'd have to go to the office, and like I wasn't even born then.
Yeah.
But now it's okay. Who is doing the best job showcasing really your property to the most people? My formula is, all right, who's going to get you the most eyeballs on your property?
Yeah.
Because whoever has the most eyeballs gets the most people interested, gets the most people at the open house, gets the most people making offers, gets the highest offer for the seller.
Gets the most business.
Exactly. Gets the most business. Exactly. Gets the most referrals. So, yeah, when I see agents that just freaking thumb in the photo, I'm like, you numpty. Like, you just like, what are you doing? You're giving all us realtors a bad name.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, terrible.
Yeah. No, and
terrible.
that's... Oh, I can stem off into so much on that. I love all our clients, but it's just, man,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you're doing such a disservice, and that's where the whole just bringing back the value. You're doing such a disservice to the industry, not just to yourself, you know?
Which you have to be very clear on what your value proposition is. I
Right.
feel, you know, like your value proposition, like why should someone hire you?
Yeah.
Sometimes people's value proposition is, you know, I take photos, you know, with my finger in them because it's my personal brand.
Yeah.
Or I don't
Yeah.
know, something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's a value proposition. And if
Yeah.
that value proposition isn't better than somebody else's, then you're probably going to lose unless you know, just create a good emotional connection with the seller. You know,
Right.
big believer in, you know, we make decisions with emotion and then
Yeah.
rationalize them with logic. You know,
Yeah.
I am super big on that. You know, whoever makes the best emotional connection with a seller or a client or, you know, photographer, whoever it is,
Yeah.
they're going to get the business. Yeah. Sales is just
And
creating connections. You
Yeah.
know, like the way I describe it is like if you had, I don't know, 50 people or 50 agents, you know, that were all at a listing appointment with one seller and they all said the exact same thing and they're the exact same marketing, only one agent would win the listing.
Yeah.
It is who connects best with that client. They have a need and you need to solve it.
Yeah.
Like one of my questions that I ask people is, okay, what are you nervous about during this, you know, transaction? And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, okay, well, is that it? Or is there anything else you're nervous about?
Yeah.
And they'll tell me, and then I'll address those concerns. And another question I ask is, hey, what are you looking for from a realtor? And then whatever they say, I'll say, great, I do that, I do that, I do that, I do that. I'm going to solve all your problems instead of just saying, well, I got some shiny marketing. You know,
Right.
Shiny marketing's
Right.
great, but what does shiny marketing do for them? They
Right.
don't care about the shiny marketing. They care about what does the shiny marketing mean.
Right. To them.
So yeah, it really comes down to just, can you solve their problem?
Yeah.
And then there's some sellers that like just, all they care about is price. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm probably not going to win that because if you just look at like, I don't know, like bottom line or commission or whatever. So
Yeah.
many people are commission gouging. And I'm like, look, like if you pay a discount realtor, you're going to get a discount service, which means you're going to get a discount price.
Yeah.
Invest. Don't think of it as an expense. You got to invest in your marketing.
Yeah. I think that's another red flag when people hire. I'm going to say this like carefully, but like when they hire a lower, a discounted realtor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, discounted. I think
The
is
thing
the
is,
best way to
if
describe
you're,
it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll say discounted.
Yeah.
If you're only making a small portion of the proceeds, you also have to think how much are they going to invest into everything else. They're not going to make any money. A cleaner, forget about it. Marketing, forget about it. Running ads for, putting it in front of people's eyes, forget about it. Open house, you're going to have an open house, you're not going to have any cookies.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Exactly.
you just think of all the small things, that how many corners are they going to cut
Yeah.
with those? And again, I'm not knocking any discounted realtor. I'm sure there's some that the homeowner truly values their house and they do everything to get it done.
They're
Whatever.
still in business, so
Yeah.
there's clearly a need for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just but you also think it prevents the agent from having a team.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of when an agent charges 6%, for the most part, I'd like to say that that's an investment into their business, which is the team, which is the office assistant, which is the one that's running open houses, which is whatever. You have a team and then you have an office. Well, I mean, that costs money. You got internet, that costs money. Like all of that stuff, you can have the agent that just works at home and, which is fine, but yeah. So
It's a good point.
it's like servicing your car. You're going to the backyard mechanic. Well, I mean, that's fine. And it's going to work for X amount of years. And then you get to a point where you're like, all right, I need a full service place it's going to cost me a little bit more, but I have you walk in, you got sofas, you got a coffee bar, they're hello, Mr. Matzuk, hello, you know what I mean? Like they welcome you nicely. That's a good feeling. Yeah. Again, it costs a little more. The oil change costs $300, but it's like, but you're going to get taken care of. You're not going to be stressed. You're going to be clean, Yeah, I just
I
think
gotta
oil
say,
changes because once you buy German cars, holy cow, man.
things get expensive.
Anyways, yeah,
I gotta tell you, I drive Prius. I love my boy Pat.
Yeah.
You know, he is the backyard guy.
Yeah.
And he gives me a much better service than those dealerships do. I'll tell you.
yeah. Disclaimer. There are,
Right. Yeah, but there's a need for it. You know, and
yeah.
sometimes people like those discounted realtors.
Yeah.
Sometimes their value is not in their marketing. Their value
Right.
is like they have been in that area for 50 years and they know everybody locally and they could probably find a buyer for you off market.
Right.
Like that is a value.
Of
And
course.
sometimes people want that. You know, I
course.
don't because I can't provide that. And also I
Right.
don't think it's the best way to get the most money for a seller, but
Yeah.
that's just my opinion. So.
I think that's a good little transition point too as well, where there's room for everybody on this totem pole. There's room for the discounted car mechanic. There's room for the high end car mechanic. There's room for everybody. There's work for everybody. There's a market for everybody. Even like on our end, I'm just going to flip it, like the real estate photography aspect. There are the solo shooters that just do it part-time, and they work. There's a market for that. There's a lot that they only want to work with 1 or 2 clients and they want to shoot for them. But then there's also teams that they don't care if it's just you that's shooting. They value how reliable you are, how easy is it to book you, your availability, delivery time. Like there's so much more things that's valued rather than, oh, it's not you, whatever the case is. So anyways.
Oh, no, it's super important. And trust is very hard to build, but it's very easy to lose. Like I think we talked about this. Deep. I used a photographer before you where she was amazing, but at some point, I think she didn't show up for 2 photo shoots.
Yeah.
And, no reason, no nothing, like maybe a text like a couple weeks later. And I was like, like, okay, well, now I got to find somebody else. I found you. And just everything, the professionalism, the way we do things, the turn time, the offering to do, slight, enhancements of yards or whatever it is, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just a better service. And it's what I needed at the time. I needed certainty. You know, and I was willing to honestly pay the price for certainty. I was okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's cool.
Sorry if I brought up that.
No. That's good, man. I appreciate that because the one thing that I try to really, really pride ourselves is the reliability, Like I think in the 5 years that we've been doing this, there's probably been one time that that we canceled the shoot, like once in 5 years. And even then, it still haunts me. I'm like, I can't believe I don't have a 100% track record, Because that's the thing that to me is what's gonna essentially help scale this business to where it is, where I want it to be, whatever the case is. But yeah, we don't do that. We don't cancel shoots.
Honestly, no. And I think realtors have this feeling as well, like from the real estate perspective, is that I am the best possible realtor for my clients, and I'm the best,
Yeah.
And what I kind of have to tell some people is that if you stopped working for 2 weeks and you had a past client call you and want to, sell their house with you, if you didn't get back to them for 2 weeks, they would probably find another realtor.
Oh yeah.
Like that is highly likely. Now,
Right.
if you called them back and you said, I'm on vacation, can we talk in a couple weeks? A little bit different.
Yeah.
But if you disappeared off the face of the earth, people aren't going to say, oh, well, I can't use Jack now.
Right.
So now I'm just not going to sell my house.
Right.
They would find somebody else. It's
of
the same
course.
way you go to, the store and, Sriracha wasn't available, whatever. I got the discount bargain brand Sriracha.
Same.
I wasn't like,
Same.
remember when that happened?
I do
Yeah.
remember.
I wasn't like, I'm never eating spicy, like food again.
Getting the next best thing.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this is the same thing, whatever. I'll
Exactly.
take it.
It tastes pretty good.
Yeah,
all right,
it's
we're good.
fine.
Yeah, right.
But actually leading into that, but then when Sriracha did come back on the shelf, I absolutely bought Sriracha.
I went right back.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But that goes into a point with, I think, a fear with agents, with business owners, entrepreneurs is, no, I can't say no because they're never going to use me again. No, if you're good enough and you provide enough value, sure, for that time that you're on vacation, they're going to use somebody else. Then when your availability is back, they're going to come back to you if you truly provide the value that you say you do and that you do.
Right.
We do it, again, talking from personal experience, multiple times where agents would, it's a free market, agents use somebody else, but then like you said, oh, you got a good experience with us. Wow, you got your photos the next day? You got your videos the next day? We just had 3 photo shoots at 10 o'clock in the morning, all at the same time. That's pretty good. So it's like, I'm going to go back to that once it's available again, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
makes sense.
that was a cool analogy with the sriracha.
Dude,
'cause-
I think I paid $50
Yeah.
for a thing of sriracha during that. Dude, I found it on Amazon or something.
Really?
Oh my god, yeah.
eBay, people were scouring, price gouging
Ridiculous. I know.
eBay.
I need the green tip.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I was tempted, but I was like, I can't believe you guys are selling these for $50.
Well, it was like during COVID when they were selling like hand sanitizer for
Oh,
like
that stuff.
$200 a bottle or something.
I tried to
Like,
do it, and I bought so much of it, and I mean, we used it, but they started blocking sites from doing that. It was messed up. Like morally, it's not right.
So you were reselling?
Yeah,
Like,
I was reselling.
oh.
Yeah, not mask.
Really?
It was hand sanitizer and like the bottles and the sprays, dude.
There's a market for it.
Yeah, and then they banned it. 'Cause, again, morally, it was incorrect, but I'm just like, let me take advantage of this.
Yeah.
And it sold a few, and then they just started blocking all accounts. We're like, no, you're not price gouging. Like, and it made sense,
Yeah, right.
you know.
Right.
I try to take advantage.
Right. War profiteering.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You know. Oh, good old sriracha. That's funny. I don't know how we got onto that topic, but that was
I
phenomenal.
don't know either. Yeah.
Yeah, this was good. All right, let's slowly wrap it up. Couple of questions. Just
Okay.
back to the real estate, since you're a realtor.
Fantastic.
What's like advice you'd give to new agents or the agents that started this year? And market's been interesting. What are
Yep.
some advice you'd give?
So the advice I would give, honestly, to any new agent who's starting out, I don't think it matters what market you're in. Of course, some markets are easier than others to start out in, but it would be talk to people and talk to people about real estate. Mention that you're a realtor. I think sometimes realtors forget that. I know agents in my office where they will complain about, I don't have any deals. What's going on here? Okay, well, how many people did you talk to today? Okay, well, I talked to my hairdresser, and I talked to a guy I play pickleball with, or whatever it is, and I'll say, okay, well, did you mention to them that you're a realtor and you work by referral? And they said, well, no. I mean, they follow me on Facebook. They know. People don't know.
Yeah.
Like, people need to be reminded. That's why I'd say most conversations I have with people, I usually mention at least once, and James Butterworth, my business partner, love you, James, he's huge on this, of just mentioning something about being a realtor. It's not always, hey, who do you know that might be looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate? It's like, hey, I just had a showing, I think it was over by your house, like, did you see the house on the market? Talking about real estate. Oh, by the way, I can help, if you ever need anything from a realtor or anybody like those sorts of things. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can do what I started when I got in real estate, which was cold calling, which slowly, worked its way to a discovery call, which is what I call it now. It's not a cold call. It's a discovery call. So, talking to people, mentioning you're a realtor, seeing what you can do for them. I am working with a guy right now who he flips like 4 or 5 properties a year in the Amherst, like Hadley, Northampton area.
Yeah.
And the reason I got him is because I've been sending him email newsletters for the past 3 years. And I called him about a property he has like a month ago. And he said, yeah, I've been getting your like emails for the past like 3 years.
Yeah.
I need a realtor. My realtor just retired. Like, let's talk.
Yeah.
Talk to people.
No, that's good, man. That's good. Be known,
Be known. Yeah.
It's a good one. What are your thoughts on the market? I should have asked that one first and then gone into that, but
Sucks.
yeah.
I mean,
Buying, selling,
well,
flipping.
well, that's the thing. I'm not flipping many houses right now. Just doing the land.
Overall.
They're not great.
Yeah.
Frankly, people are still needing to buy, but prices are so high, and now that interest rates are high, monthly payments are kind of through the roof. It's no longer
They're nuts, man.
like an $1,800 monthly payment, at least in Western Mass. you know?
Yeah.
Now it's like if you want anything that is above $300,000, you're going to be paying $2,200, $2,600, whatever it is. Like it's expensive right now. Another reason to buy a duplex and live in one side and rent out the other unit. Yeah,
Live nearly for free.
yeah. But people who say, I need to pause my search. I mean, I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
I heard it in 2020 when people said, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the market's too crazy. I'm going to wait." And then heard it in 2021. "Oh, I'm going to wait for the market to crash." Okay. And then it was, in 2022. Okay, well, rates are too high. I'm going to wait. And then, and now it's, well, rates are really too high. I'm going to wait. you can buy a house now with a high rate and refinance to a lower rate. You can pay points to buy down the rate. You know,
Yeah.
if you buy, let's just think about this. If you buy now, prices really aren't supposed to go down. Of course they could,
Yeah.
but really there's
Right.
no metrics that show that they could.
Yeah.
Then when prices go up, you know, then you could refinance out of your higher rate and then, you know, get into a lower rate and you made a bunch of equity in the meantime. Now, I'm not, you know, emphasizing that you should bet on the market, but
Yeah.
if you can make it work with a high rate right now, that then when rates drop, you can refinance
Yeah.
because they will drop eventually. Might
Of
not be
course.
in the next 6 months, it might not be in the next
Yeah.
5 years, but they will drop.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important. Just get started.
Cool. I love it, man.
That was great.
We'll wrap up there. Thanks, buddy.